They didn't ask for permission. They didn't wait for a sign. They knew what they wanted, and they took it. And the worst part, I didn't stop them. I let it happen. That moment haunts me every second of every day, not because I was forced, not because I wanted it more than I'd ever imagined, but because I could feel the danger, the wrongness of it, and it awakened something inside me I didn't know existed. I wish I could tell you I fought it. I wish I could say I screamed or ran from the room, but that would be a lie. And today, I'm here to tell you the raw, messy, shameful truth, unfiltered. Before I dive in, I want to thank each of you reading this. To my subscribers, you're the reason this story keeps growing. To my new and returning readers who haven't hit that subscribe button yet, I see you, I feel you, and I can't wait for you to join the community. Your comments below breathe life into this story, don't hold back. Now back to that afternoon, the moment that broke me. My name is Jessica Harper, a 42-year-old woman living in a quiet Dallas suburb. Think manicured lawns, white picket fences, and neighbours jogging with their dogs at dawn. Life here is slow, predictable, even dull. In my 20s, I was a model tall, blonde, with legs that once strutted Paris Fashion Week. But that feels like another lifetime. Now, I'm a freelance fashion consultant, married to Andrew Coleman, a CFO for a tech company in Dallas who spends more time in airports and hotel lobbies than at home. Andrew has 2 sons from his first marriage, Mason and Liam. We've raised them together since they were teens. They're good boys, or so I thought. Mason, now 23, is bold and athletic, a semi-pro football coach who owns every room he enters. Liam, 21, is quieter, introspective, a graphic design student with dark, heavy eyes that say things his mouth never dares. It all started one Saturday afternoon in late spring. Andrew was in Phoenix for a tech conference, leaving me alone with the boys. I wore a loose white tank top and soft cotton shorts, nothing fancy, just my usual around-the-house outfit. That morning, I'd caught my reflection in the mirror. The curves were still there, the skin still smooth, the fire still burning, just dormant. The AC was broken, and the house felt like a sauna. Mason was in the living room, shirtless, sweat glistening on his skin as he flipped through TV channels. Liam was in the kitchen, sipping an iced coffee. His eyes locked on me as I passed by. I caught him staring not at my face, but lower. I pretended not to notice, but I did. When I bent down to pick up a dropped fork, I heard a low whistle behind me. I spun around, half smiling, feigning annoyance. "Watch it, Mason," I said. But his eyes didn't leave my legs. "That outfit's a bit much for us," he teased, his voice carrying an edge. I rolled my eyes, heart pounding. "You're grown men. I'm your stepmom, for God's sake." But Liam whispered from behind me, "Not our mum." The words hit like a key turning in a lock. I told myself to leave the room, to set boundaries. Instead, I walked to the fridge, bending slower than necessary to grab a water bottle. Their silence behind me said everything. The air shifted. Mason stepped closer, too close. His breath was hot on my neck. I turned, ready to snap, but his hand was already on my hip. "I know what you're thinking," he said. I wanted to deny it, to push him away, but I couldn't move. Liam stepped nearer, his fingers brushing my arm. "We see how you look at us, Jessica. You don't even hide it." My voice caught in my throat. My knees weakened. I stood between them now, trapped between the boys I'd helped raise, the boys I'd tucked into bed years ago. And in that moment, all I felt was heat racing down my spine. "I'm your father's wife," I whispered, more to myself than to them. "And he's never around," Mason said, his lips grazing my ear. "You deserve more." I wish I could say I pulled away, screamed, locked myself upstairs. But I stayed. Their hands found me, one on my waist, another gliding over my thigh. My body betrayed me, every nerve sparking awake. I don't know how we moved to the hallway. I didn't resist. I couldn't. My breath trembled. My body felt like it belonged to someone else. We reached my bedroom. Mason pushed the door open. Liam closed it behind us. I stood barefoot, shaking, torn. They didn't speak. They acted hands, lips, skin. It happened fast, yet in slow motion. My heart slamming against my ribs. Guilt churned in my stomach. But desire drowned it. It was wrong, wild, forbidden. But in that chaos of heat and need, I felt more alive than I had in years. When it was over, I sat in silence, heart still racing, body humming, staring at the lazy ceiling fan above my bed. Mason leaned against the headboard. Liam lay beside me, his fingers tracing lightly over my stomach. No one spoke, but I knew nothing in my life would ever be the same. The next morning felt like waking up in someone else's skin. Sunlight streamed through the blinds, warming the tangled sheets around my legs. My eyes blinked open, adjusting to the soft light. For a moment, I forgot what had happened. For a moment, everything felt normal. Then I turned and saw Liam beside me, asleep, bare chest outlined against the white sheets. That's when the guilt hit, not in waves, but like a brick to the chest, sharp, suffocating. I bolted upright, clutching the blanket, my heart pounding like a war drum. My body ached in places it hadn't in years. My mind screamed. I slipped out of bed, terrified of waking him, of what might happen if our eyes met again. I tiptoed down the hall to the bathroom, locked the door, and stared into the mirror. The woman staring back wasn't Jessica Harper, the loyal wife and stepmom. Her lips were swollen, her neck tender with faint red marks, her eyes wild, ashamed, electrified. I turned on the faucet, splashing cold water on my face, trying to wash it away, but the shame was embedded, and no amount of soap or hot water could scrub out what I'd done. When I emerged, both boys were downstairs. Mason stood at the kitchen counter, pouring cereal like nothing had happened. Liam sat at the table, scrolling on his phone, chuckling. I froze at the bottom of the stairs. Part of me wanted to scream. Another wanted to lock myself away forever. Instead, I walked to the sink and poured a glass of water. "Sleep well?" Mason asked. not looking up. I didn't answer. Yeah, Liam added, his eyes flicking to me with a mix of amusement and possession. You looked relaxed. I gripped the glass tighter. Don't talk to me like that, I said, my voice small. Liam shrugged, unfazed. You didn't exactly fight it last night. I wasn't thinking straight. I whispered. It never should have happened. Mason stepped closer, his voice softer now. But it did. Pretending it didn't won't change it. I set the glass down and walked away, their eyes burning into my back as I climbed the stairs, each step heavier than the last. The rest of the day passed in awkward silence. I stayed in my room, curtains drawn, staring at the wall. Andrew called around noon from Phoenix to check in. I let the phone ring twice before answering. Hey, honey, he said, voice tired. Everything okay? Yeah, I lied. All good. How's the conference? He talked for 10 minutes. I barely heard a word, my eyes fixed on the floor where Mason had stood the night before, whispering in my ear. When I hung up, I curled up on the bed and cried silent, bitter tears. I'd betrayed a good man, a man who trusted me, who gave me everything. But even through the tears, I felt something else, a shameful, terrible want to feel it again. The same heat, the same recklessness. It sickened me, but it was real. That evening, I forced myself to cook dinner, desperate to restore normalcy. Stir-fried chicken, salad, rice. The boys sat at the table like nothing had happened, talking about work, music, basketball. I said little. Every time our eyes met, I looked away, but something had shifted. I saw it in their eyes, in the way they leaned back in their chairs, like they owned the room, like they owned me. Mason brushed past me, his hand grazing my lower back. Liam watched me, eyes heavy with unspoken thoughts. I was no longer their stepmom. I was something else. The worst part was how my body responded, a shiver in my stomach, a spark in my chest. And every time Andrew called, it felt like a knife twisting in my side. The guilt wasn't just an emotion, it was physical, living in my skin, my bones, my breath. Yet I couldn't bring myself to confess. How do you tell a man his son's turned your world upside down? That night I locked my bedroom door, but the damage was done. Over the next week, it got worse. Stairs turned to light touches. Touches became teasing in the hallway. The kitchen. One afternoon, I was in the laundry room folding Andrew's shirts when Liam walked in, closed the door, and stood there, watching, just looking. He said, "You miss it, don't you?" I didn't answer. He stepped closer. "Say no." "I can't," I said, barely audible. It was a mistake. My hands shook. He saw it. When Mason joined us minutes later, the air felt sucked out of the room. The door closed again. Mason leaned against it, arms crossed. "We want to feel you again," he said. I dropped the shirt. "You're married," Liam added. "But you're ours now." "Too?" "No," I whispered. "I can't." They stepped closer. That time, I ran. Pushing past them, up the stairs, locking myself in the bathroom, I sat on the floor, hands on my face, rocking like a scared child. That's when I realised something terrifying. This wasn't just a one-time mistake. It was a storm, a secret storm threatening to swallow me. And I had no one to tell, no one to help, not even Andrew. The days blurred, and all I felt was the crushing weight inside. I avoided Mason and Liam as much as I could, staying in my locked bedroom. When I had to leave, I moved like a ghost in my own home. They noticed, of course, but they never mentioned that night in the laundry room or how I'd run. Instead, their behaviour shifted, calculated, patient, like they were watching, waiting for the perfect moment to strike again. Andrew returned from Phoenix on Friday night. I nearly fell into his arms when he walked through the door. His smile, his scent, his warm voice reminded me of who I used to be, who I wanted to be. But I wasn't that woman anymore. I missed you, he whispered, holding me tight. Missed you, too. I lied, burying my face in his shoulder. That night, he made love to me gentle, careful, like a man who still believed his wife was his. I cried afterward, lying silently beside him, staring at the ceiling as he slept, wondering if the woman in this bed could ever forgive herself. I knew the answer no. She couldn't, and the world wouldn't let her forget what she'd done. It started again with Mason. The next afternoon, while Andrew was outside mowing the lawn, I was washing dishes in the kitchen. Mason walked in, standing just close enough for me to feel him before I saw him. That heat, that energy. "You're pretending," he said softly. "But I know you remember." I turned off the faucet. "Don't. Not now. Not when he's home." Mason chuckled. "You think I care? You gave yourself to us. Jessica, you let us taste you. That doesn't go away." My hands gripped the sink's edge. It was a mistake. One night. It meant nothing. He stepped closer. That night meant something. You know it did. I turned to leave, but not fast enough. He caught my wrist, gentle but firm. "You're lying to yourself," he said, "and it's eating you alive." He was right, but I yanked my hand free and ran upstairs, trembling. That evening, Andrew suggested a family dinner, just the four of us. I forced a smile and agreed, though my stomach knotted. We went to a steakhouse a few blocks from our neighbourhood. Andrew talked endlessly about work, the future, how proud he was of his sons becoming strong men. I nearly choked on my wine. Liam sat across from me, calm and cold, his dark eyes never leaving my face. There was something menacing in his stare, a secret, a threat, like he was daring me to speak the truth. I didn't. I stayed silent, playing the dutiful housewife. After dinner, we returned home. Andrew wanted to stay up and watch a movie. I told him I was tired, kissed his cheek, and went to bed. But sleep never came. My heart raced in the dark. My mind replayed the scenes on a relentless, broken loop. Then the letter arrived. On Monday morning, Andrew had left for work. Mason and Liam were still asleep, or so I thought. I went to the front door and found an envelope with my name in bold print. No stamp, no sender, just my name. I opened it. Inside was a photo me on the bed, tangled with both of them. Bare. The angle was clear, unmistakable. Behind the photo, a note, 3 words. We own you. I nearly collapsed. My legs buckled, and I sank to the floor, clutching the envelope like it might vanish. My heart pounded so loud it echoed in my ears. Panic rose in my throat like bile. They'd taken a photo. They'd planned this. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't spontaneous. It was a trap, and I'd walked right into it. I scrambled to my feet and ran upstairs to confront them. But when I opened Mason's door, he was gone. Liam, too. I called their phones. No answer. I paced for hours, crying, trying to think. Should I tell Andrew confess before they could blackmail me? Or would that destroy everything anyway? That afternoon, Liam walked in like nothing had happened. I cornered him in the hallway. "What is this?" I hissed, shoving the photo at his chest. He glanced at it, smirked, and handed it back. "Insurance. What do you want?" He stepped closer. "You know what we want." "I'll tell Andrew," I said, my voice breaking. "Go ahead," he replied. "Show him. But be ready to lose everything." He brushed past me, whistling. That night, I didn't eat. I didn't speak. I sat in my room, rocking back and forth like a woman on the edge because that's exactly what I'd become. The days were unbearable. Every glance felt like a threat. Every conversation carried a double meaning. I was a prisoner in my own home, trapped by my own choices. And the worst part, no one knew, not even Andrew. Until the night it all fell apart. Andrew came home early from work. I was alone in the laundry room when he called my name. "Jessica." I stepped out, trying to sound normal. "I'm here." He walked in, holding his phone, his face pale, eyes wide. "What is this?" he asked, showing me the screen. It was the photo, sent to him anonymously. My world shattered in that moment. He stared at me like I was a stranger. I opened my mouth, but no words came. He turned and walked out. I heard the front door slam, and my marriage was over. The boys had won, but in the end we all lost.